calmly regarding the camera, a faint, analytical smile. We begin with a rough map of escalation, drawn just 20 days into the US-Iran war. Predictive history opens with a stark, visceral event, an Israeli strike on Iranian oil fields and Iranian retaliatory strike on Qatari LNG infrastructure. Breathless. Breaking news certainty. Tel Aviv pummeled by cluster warheads, footage being censored. Then the pivot, not to a military analyst but to a rabbi in Jerusalem, reframing the conflict from geopolitical to esquiological. A clumsy portmanteau of eschatological and ecological, I think. This is the first crucial narrative turn. From the material, which is chaotic, to the spiritual, which can be framed as clean, binary, and driven by unchangeable inner logic. His core argument: the surface-level war is a symptom of deeper internal civil wars. 3 questions. How are leaders being killed? Why? And what does it mean? Answered by one grand concept: the law of proximity. This is his signature move. Take a current event, declare conventional analysis insufficient, and introduce a tautological framework. The law of proximity states that actors are most influenced by the game closest to them. It's an observation dressed as a universal law. Nations aren't primarily fighting external enemies. They're fighting internal factions, and the external war is merely the arena. There's a real academic tradition here, Peter Turchin's selectorate theory, but our analyst strips it of all nuance and presents it as a skeleton key. He applies this law to 3 nations. First, America. He sees a civil war not of bullets, but of bailouts. Democrats and Republicans become avatars for 2 parasitic financial bubbles. Private credit versus the AI bubble. Each side supports the war because it serves their domestic endgame: win elections or suspend them. There's a cynical appeal to this, but it requires us to believe the entire American establishment views a major regional war, with catastrophic global energy risk, solely as a backdrop for a dispute over which speculative bubble gets a future government handout. All complexity of national interest, alliances, and military strategy vacuumed out and replaced with venal, financial tribalism. Then Israel, where the analysis takes its greatest speculative leap. Israel is divided between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, the animal soul. Tel Aviv is secular and cosmopolitan. Jerusalem is theocratic and eschatological. His most striking claim: the religious faction views the destruction of Tel Aviv as a positive good, a purification that will drive repentance and usher in the Messiah. When a viewer asks if this personal belief affects China, his answer is gloriously unhinged. China doesn't matter. Okay? Only Israel matters. Their spiritual state will determine the fate of the world. A complex society with myriad political parties collapsed into a spiritual battle between 2 archetypal cities, with one faction allegedly welcoming its own nation's destruction for a transcendent goal. Israel ceases to be a geopolitical actor and becomes a theological protagonist in a cosmic drama. The pattern is clear. Each society's internal divisions are elevated to the primary causal engine. International diplomacy becomes a stage play put on by deeper, unstoppable forces. By the time he reaches Iran's structure of religious and secular authority, the template is set. We're primed to view Iran not as a state with strategic aims, but as another vessel for an internal game. So what did this video actually do? It took the extreme uncertainty of the war, already 3 weeks old and escalating, and offered a grand unifying theory. It replaced the anxiety of unpredictable events with the comfort of a predictable pattern. The law of proximity is less a tool for prediction and more a lens for retroactive explanation, a way to make any chaotic event seem like the inevitable outcome of pre-existing tensions. Is he right? In places, he is sharply observant about how domestic politics shape foreign policy. But he extrapolates this into historical fatalism, where societies are doomed to play out their internal dramas on the world stage with no capacity for surprise. The core prediction embedded in his framework is maximalist, endless conflict with no off-ramp because the internal games in each nation demand it. He's not predicting that the fire will spread. He's describing the fire we can all see and constructing a theory of combustion to explain why it must keep burning. In fairness, given the dynamics he described in March 2006, wars at this scale have immense momentum. But his deeper claim that these internal civil conflicts are the sole drivers headed toward a predetermined, almost apocalyptic endpoint is untestable. It's a story, not a forecast. Okay, Count. 48, a steady, rhythmic pulse of verbal punctuation used not for agreement but for assertion, marking the transition from one confident claim to the next.